Angular or React.js? Which should you learn? Which should you use for a project? And, more importantly, what are the structural and fundamental differences between these two solutions? To me, although the two serve a very similar purpose, they feel radically different to code with. The first point worth mentioning is that Angular is used on Gmail and on Google products in general, at Microsoft Office Online, at Upwork, at Sony, and at Forbes. React, on the other hand, is used at Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, Dropbox, and Uber. The first thing to underline is that this means Angular and React are both mature solutions with strong references. However, those names, those companies, tell a story of two very different worlds, and they provide the first inkling of a clue about the underlying difference between the two solutions. In fact, the two logos tell a very similar story. Angular's logo is a shield, which has undertones of being safe and solid and secure. React's logo, on the other hand, is an atom. And if you combine the semantics of React and an atom, you get an explosion, an atomic reaction, which is kind of the polar opposite of safety and security. And the internal mission statements of the two companies building these two solutions show exactly that same opposition. Google, where Angular was created, aims to do no evil. Facebook, the birthplace of React, on the other hand, wants to move fast and break things. Where Google sounds very law-abiding and gentlemanly, Facebook's internal motto gives off a kind of rebellious, bad boy vibe. In Angular, there's a coding and naming convention which is derived from the MVC model. MVC stands for Model View Controller. The file system structure reflects this. Each module has a folder, and within the module folders, each component has its own folder. And all this structure needs to be adhered if you want the application to compile, let alone function. React doesn't have an MVC structure in the code, and doesn't impose a structure on the file system. A component is just a function that renders HTML code directly. If we're using hooks and functional components, how to structure the code in the file system is left firmly in the developer's hands. In Angular, the cost of having to choose is gone. All the choices are made for you. Angular is batteries included. Routing. Check. Translation. Check. State. Check. Angular has you covered. However, that structure and those batteries come at a cost too. All those libraries, all that functionality, needs to be understood and learned correctly. Now, how are Angular and React different in practice? In my experience, the differences in structure lead to bigger components with larger scope in Angular, whereas React is conducive to more focused components. Reusing components is also more complex in Angular, whereas doing so in React requires minimal effort, where everything feels more focused and lightweight. Because Angular is a fully fledged framework with a much larger scope, it provides more functionality out of the box, like routing or internationalization or two-way state management. And a predefined structure, it has a steeper learning curve. React, on the other hand, is a focused library, with way less structure and less scope. This makes it easier to learn because initially, just because there is less of it to learn, you can cover the main concepts in an afternoon. That single-minded focus is also what gives it greater flexibility. Angular provides security and structure where React provides agility and speed. Which one do I recommend? To start with, I would recommend learning JavaScript and TypeScript before learning either. Once that is done, if you can, learn both. If you can't, my recommendation would depend on your personality traits, on how risk-averse you are, and on how much structure you need. If you need things to be standardized and secure, I would advise you go for Angular. If you need action and flexibility, I would recommend you go for React. If you want a development career in the banking sector or a stable work environment, favor Angular. If you would prefer to work rather in a startup where everything is moving in all directions, I recommend React. Both are good choices, but only you can answer which one best fits where you want to go. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Have a good one, bye.